Missing someone with all your missing someone.
What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So this week I'm going to show you a retouch on this client. So I haven't seen her for probably a little over a year, and last time when we did her hair we did a variation of like a purpley gray, and then I sent her home with like a color balm hair mask, which is a colored hair mask that she was able to refresh some of that purple tone at home, but it ended up fading a little bit greenish on her because she pulls very yellow. So what we're going to work on today is blend her root a little bit more and give her something that's going to grow out a little bit softer, and then try to tone out some of the green tone that is left within her hair on the mids and ends. So even though I've done her hair before, today I'm going to change up her highlight sectioning a little bit. I'm going to transition her into the sectioning pattern that I've been doing on majority of my clients, only because this pattern is a lot easier for me to retouch, and I find that it is a little bit quicker but still can give really good impact, just like my old technique. So just a little quick rundown of how I section the hair. So I normally always start in the back here, and I did detail her hairline. You can see those foils that are popping out on the side. I just did one to help frame and give her a little bit of color when she puts her hair up. And then anything beyond that, I'm going to just take a center section up the head. Basically what I call it is the mohawk section, and I'm just going to be slicing all of that. I'm not going to be doing any weaves in the inside of her highlights. I only weave what is around the hairline to give her a little bit of softness, but everything else is going to be sliced pretty much. And the way that I would determine if it's going to be more dimensional or softer, or even give that look that I did weave it, is to space out my slices a little bit more. So I had asked her previous to starting if she wanted her grout to be a little bit softer, like did she like her last color. And I generally will ask all of my clients that before I begin, especially if they're a returning client, because it gives me a good idea of how heavy I should be highlighting their roots, or how much dimension I should be leaving because the grout was a little too harsh for them. And normally clients who are naturally, like I would say, a level 5 and below will find that doing a very heavy highlight, and they're more of a low maintenance client, can give them a really harsh grout, and they don't like the way that it fades. Because this client, she really only sees me like once a year to do her hair, and sometimes we do have to do a very heavy highlight if she's all dark, but since this is last time we did a really heavy highlight and she still has a lot of beautiful color on her mids and ends, today we're able to kind of just blend her root a little bit so that it doesn't grow out as harsh. So what's different with this technique versus what I used to do, what I used to do was mostly like I would do chunky weaves on the bottom and then maybe do some medium-sized weaves on the top. And her placement specifically, I did a lot of chunky weaves back to back to give her a lot of impact, and I find that that still works, but I feel like it's just a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficient with the look that we're going for to just do slices instead of doing a chunky weave. It kind of gives a very similar effect actually if you do the proper placement for it, and it is a lot quicker for me, at least, especially when we're retouching too. If I was doing like a chunky weave, sometimes I would have to like pick that out. So this one, it's a little bit easier to kind of just go in and find the old slice and avoid that and just highlight whatever has like the longest root. And lately on a majority of my clients, it's just been working for me, and I love doing this on practically on any color that is like highlights or balayage, because it just, you can switch up the look with by how spaced out your slices are. So let's say she wants something that's super lived in, I would just space out my slices a little bit more. And if she wanted something that was more solid and like more color, I would just have my slices a lot closer together. So you can really customize this technique on a lot of clients and create something very similar to all of their Insta pictures that look like a balayage look. And then really quickly, I want to tell you guys the lightener that I'm using is the Blonde Me Schwarzkopf lightener, and I did like my first bowl. I'm always going to mix up a lighter formula, like a weaker formula, I mean. So that first bowl I did 6 volume and 20 volume equal parts, and then the rest of the head I'm just going to be using 20 volume. The reason why I do a lower developer to start off with is because it takes me a while to get through the back area. So I don't want to use just straight 20 all the way and then have like the first foils I did be ready when I'm not even done foiling. So that's why I always do like a lower volume just to start off with, and then the rest I just stick with 20 volume. I find that this lightener works really well on dark hair, especially if like you need really good lift and they have long roots. This lightener does and can swell though, depending on if they have buildup on the hair or if you add heat to it. But honestly, for me, on my clients who have naturally dark hair like this, I use it to an advantage because the swelling of the lightener actually helps get a little bit of a better lift, a little more even lift for me. Because the hair, if it's like super dark like this and super coarse, it just swells and makes it a little bit more even of a lift. So I don't use this liner on all of my clients, but for specifically dark hair and if I'm doing foils like this, I definitely will. So now that I've moved on to the front, I did a couple weaves back to back to kind of get her that softer money piece, but we're still doing something that is a little bit lighter in the front. So I did 2 weaves back to back, and then now I'm going to go ahead and end it with a slice and just connect that money piece with the mohawk with the same slicing pattern that I did before. Also, another thing that's really important when doing this specific technique is to make sure that your slices are nice and see-through. I don't like to take sections that are too thick, especially if you're highlighting or balayaging dark hair. It can lift uneven if your sections are too thick. So just from experience, I feel like I can feel how dense the hair is or how coarse it is, and then determine how thick of a section that I'll take for the hair. But generally a good rule of thumb is that is as long as you can like see through it, then that's a good section. Okay, so now that I'm moving on to the side, I'm going to continue and do another weave at the hairline right above for the ear to connect that money piece. And here on the side, I don't always do the same amount of foils to detail that front piece as I do in the top. I feel like you don't necessarily need it unless they want like a really bold money piece. So I am going to do about 2 weaves back to back, and then I'm going to just finish off the side by taking horizontal sections above the ear. But again, when you're doing this technique, you want to make sure that you are fully saturating and then picking out any previous blonde sections too, because you don't want to overlap at all. So yeah, you can see here I'm going above the ear, taking that section, and because this is still considered the hairline to me, when she puts her hair up, I want that softness. I am going to weave it, and then everything after that is going to be a slice. So now that I'm finishing off the side sections, this part I sometimes like to leave my slices spaced out a little bit more because it gives that nice dimension and pop. Unless they're going for something super solid, then I'll like keep it the same. But she wanted something that was going to grow out a little bit softer, so we're going to leave the spacing a little bit more further apart. I would say it's a little bit more than half an inch. And this is still going to give her a really nice blend. Even half an inch or even to an inch is still good enough. It's not going to feel too like stripy or anything. I feel like it still gives a good soft blend. And then it also, having it a little bit more dimensional on the sides, it definitely makes the front money piece that we foiled pop a lot more because it has that nice contrast between the front and the back. So once I'm done doing her foils, I'm going to let her process to about a level 9, and then we're going to be toning her with a demi-permanent. Our goal today for toner is going to be like an ashy brown. She wants to be more natural than anything, and she told me that she is working in a more professional environment, so she wants to look a little bit more mature and professional for that. So we are going to be toning her with a demi-permanent color line. And again, like I said in her before video, she had some residual green from the old purple that she was refreshing with. So I had to mix up about 3 formulations to create this color. So right now we are with my assistant. I'm going in and toning, and we're doing her root shadow. So her root shadow is going to be 6-0, which is a level 6 natural. The 6-0 in the line that I'm using is more of an ashy natural level 6. And we are applying it vertically on the head. I find that this gives it a softer blend. And then after that, for the mid area, I'm going to be putting in a 7-0, which is a level 7 natural, and it's just 1 level lighter than the top. And I do like to leave that part on for a few minutes before I put on the lighter formula, because my lighter formula is a mixture of 8-2, and then I did like a cap size of 4-5. So 8-2 is a level 8 violet, and then the 4-5 is a level 4 red violet. So majority of that end formulation is going to be the 8-2, which is a level 8 violet. And just doing a cap size full of the 4-5 is going to create kind of like a violety pink, but like more of on the pastel side. And what that's going to do is it's going to help cancel out that green that's on her mids and ends that we want out. And I'm going to save that for the very last part, because since her hair is still green after not coming in for so long, I don't particularly know how porous her ends are. So in that case, I want to make sure everything else is toned before I apply that color, because the warmer tone that I mixed up that can be like a pastel violety pinkish tone, it can take quickly just depending on how porous her hair is. So I'm going to save that for last, and just as insurance, we're going to make sure that the rest of the toner looks good, and if we need to rinse off that lighter toner on the end that is going to help cancel out the green a little bit quicker, it would be fine, because we let the rest of the toner process for the full time. And the reason why I left it out is because sometimes when the hair is porous, you never know how fast the toner is going to take. Sometimes I have had in the past the hair gets really porous. I put on a toner and then it like immediately needs to come off because the hair just like sucked it all up. And for that case, I want to make sure that the rest of the toner is all good and has sat on for a good amount before we put that on, just in case we need to rinse out the toner that we're going to be putting on her ends. So I just put on her root shade, her mid shade, we brushed it out, left it on. I just kept checking it until I felt like it was almost ready, not when it was fully ready, but like almost ready. And then I started to apply that mixture of the pastel tone that we created that was like more of a violety pink. And when I'm putting on that more pastel tone mixture to help cancel out that green, I am actively trying to apply it on the areas that are a little bit more green first to help cancel them out. And then also just like constantly trying to brush everything out. And then once I see that there is no more green and everything looks nice and even, that's when I rinsed out the toner. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. I really love the way that this turned out. You can absolutely see that there's no more green in her hair and her roots look so seamlessly blended. This is going to grow out super soft against her natural, and her green that was on her ends is completely gone. I feel like the color looks super even. We again did a level 6 at the very root, we did a level 7 at the mid, and then on the very mids and ends we did a mixture of like a level 7 and a level 8 to create this beautiful mushroom brown. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.